and I don't wish that upon anyone. Hello, Libra. Welcome to your January solar session. I am Princess India if you're new, and if you're family, welcome back, my friend. I had to switch it up and whatnot or whatever. If you're not familiar with what my soul sessions are, they are your spirituality as well as personal development readings in which we look at the energies that you guys may face for a given month for the sole purpose of giving you clarity, guidance, advice, and all that other kind of good stuff. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, we're doing things a tad bit different, Libra, because we're revisiting a reading I did for you all in December. For Surrender December, I did a collective reading and I picked a card for each sign. And I'm gonna tell you what I did before I started. When I grabbed you guys' card, Surrender Your Fear of Change, you know, I gave a whole message about that back in December in the collective reading. However, I don't know, the vibe just felt kind of different, I guess. So I grabbed my little trusty dusty Kipper deck and I pulled cards on it just to kind of see what it was speaking to. And this is just like a side note because I don't necessarily feel that this message per se relates to every single Libran out there. And it's apart from your spread. It's just, you know, princess being nosy. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, but I feel that this is a very specific message for somebody out there in these streets. So I'm just going to go with it. The cards that came out was the message, house, family room, lovers, and occupation. And I was looking at that like, but the very clear message that I got, and like I said, I don't think this is a message for the entire Libra collective, but just for whoever it resonates with, I would feel the need to tell this person, I really feel it would be a Libra gal, but the message would be is that you can have it all, if that makes sense. If we put this within the context of a fear of change, it's almost like this young lady would be someone where it's almost internally you're holding yourself back from greatness because it's this false belief that if you either pursue your career, like what it is that you really want to do, that you won't be able to be like married and have a family, or it's this false belief that if you get married and have a family that you can't have a career. You know what I mean? It's something like that. And because it's almost like it feels like there's an opportunity that's coming in or has come in for this Libra person, and they're reluctant of taking it because it's this belief system that if they were to pursue this, even though it's a really great opportunity, if they were to pursue whatever this is, whether it's a relationship or it's or even home ownership, if this is a relationship, home ownership, or a career, there's a false belief that contradicts that. Like I said in the beginning, it's either if you pursue this career, you can't ever, you know, be married, or if you're married, you can't pursue your career. But the message in all of this is you can have it all. It's very possible for you to have both. So whether you're focused on your career, whether you're focused on, you know, a love relationship, don't think that you have to sacrifice one or the other. So the basis of the fear that this person has for this opportunity that they're being offered, or just going through life in general, it's based on this false premise that you can't have it all. And the message is that you can. So that's just a little side note for somebody out there, you know what I'm saying? But anywho, getting into you guys' cards at the bottom of your deck. We have the Star in the reverse. That is Aquarius energy. I only say all because my heart always breaks when I see the Star in the reverse, because it's someone who's lost a little bit of something kind of hope, you know? So your undergirding energy for what we're going to get into in your cards, Libra, is in something, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You all have given up. But when I say given up, I don't want to say necessarily like in an external sense, like you quit your job or quit life or something like that. What it's looking like to me is you've lost hope in something you guys had a lot of faith in once upon a time. So whether that's success in your career, starting a business, owning a home, being married, much like I was saying with this surrender card here, it's almost as if it hasn't happened yet. And whether you're looking at your biological clock, or you're looking at your age, or you're looking at other people around you who may have, acquired or achieved whatever it is you guys are desiring to do, it's almost being kind of spirit broken in a sense. It's like preparing yourself to accept that this just isn't going to happen for you, And to put that in the context of what I've been talking about with every other sign prior to, this is how we create self-fulfilling prophecies, because it's you putting yourself as, or in the position of Alpha and Omega, right? You are saying what is possible and what is not possible. And you're projecting into the future based on your past, because it hasn't happened up until this point. You're pretty much being, judge, jury, and executioner of your life, in so many words, of saying, it has not happened up until 2021. So I'm just going to go ahead and call it and say that for, the remainder of my lifespan, this is never going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's coming from a place of disappointment. It's coming from a place of frustration. I would also say that it comes from a place of fear of disappointment, if you will. So what my Libras would actually be doing is electing to disappoint yourself now, so that you can feel more of a sense of control over the situation, so that you're not disappointed later. So it's kind of like, instead of me having faith or me having hope in a future that may never come, and when I'm 70, I'll be looking back disappointed, I'd rather just be disappointed now, right? And embrace the fact this is never going to happen, and then just move on with my life. Now, here's the key with this. It's the fact that what it is that you desire could very well have been right around the corner, but you changed your fate, trying to self-protect, in so many words. And that's just in you guys' underlying energy. So it still brings me back to what came out in these Kipper cards, is the very clear message is you can have it all. Whatever it is that you're desiring, you can have it. But, if you don't, it would be more or less like your decision, in the sense, which makes me think of the Justice card, because that's really what it's about. It's like you making a final judgment of what is or is not possible, right? So your central energy is the 9 of Swords. That's challenged by the 7 of Coins. That's interesting. And your past influence, leaving from December coming into January, is the 9 of Wands. So I understand. With your past influence being the 9 of Wands, that's a card of being battle weary. It's tired of fighting. It's tired of hoping, tired of disappointment, tired of hoping or believing that things are going to shift, that things are going to change. It's more or less kind of being on your last leg, if you will. And with this 9 of Swords in the reverse, we're really talking about mental unrest. It's being plagued by proverbial demons and fears and, what ifs and what could be and things of the sort. And this is an interesting thing. Okay, let me just go with it. I don't know where this is relevant, but I just got an impression of a person who, and I don't know, this could be a young person. Would people be applying to college now? Yeah, people would be applying to colleges now. The impression I get is of someone where it's like waiting for something, like, and that's why I say college admission. It's almost like applying for college. And I mean, it could be an older person, because, I went back to college when I was old, so we be doing that sometimes. But anywho, it's applying for something, or like maybe school, maybe a job, something along those lines. It's something that was sent out, right? And it's people outside of yourself making a judgment about something. And a lot is riding on this. Let me just stick with this analogy so I can get this energy out. So say if this is someone who applied to colleges, right? And say that this person did not get into every single school that they applied to, right? So they didn't get in any schools. There's one school left. So they've heard back from all of the schools. And there's one school left. And the letter comes in, if you will, right? And they're terrified to open it because hypothetically, because they got rejected from all of these other schools, right? The thought or the assumption is I probably got rejected from this school too, you know? And it's being rejected so many times, right? If we looked at the Nine of Wands, say that, you know, you got 9 rejections from all of these schools. And this is like the last hope. But because of being marred by 9 rejections, it's almost being confident that this last, letter from the school is going to be yet another rejection. And what I see the person doing is like just electing to not open the letter or the email or however it is that they're doing it these days. I think that they tell kids by email now. Which that's a lot less trippy than it was back in the day. But anyway, but it's not opening it. And the other part of that would be not opening it, and hypothetically, there's a scholarship in there and there's a deadline on that scholarship, right? And with the person not opening it because they're trying to mentally prepare themselves because they know with 9 rejections, this is probably a 10th, and they're just kind of not ready to deal with it right now. Not saying that this would literally happen, but this is like a potential thing. And mind you guys, this is hypothetical. So whatever this relates to in your life, but it's not opening it and not realizing that there's a deadline to this, or there's a deadline to reply to accept this particular position. And then inadvertently, you end up rejecting yourself unconsciously. So that goes back to what I was saying of this whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing. It's allowing past experiences to be, like your psychic, if you will. So it's like your past experience is your proverbial psychic. These 9 rejections are a proverbial psychic who are saying, don't bother opening it because that is also yet another rejection. So protect your ego and just F it, right? And this ends up becoming the self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that it wasn't the school that rejected you, but you rejected yourself. So this would be like 2 ways that this looks. It's either a person who overtly is taking control of the situation. So say hypothetically, if we're talking about like relationships, you've gotten to a certain age, you haven't met anyone yet, and you just say, you know what, I'm never going to get married. No one's ever going to fall in love with me. That's just not for me. And then you start rationalizing it by saying, besides, I own a business and I'm a career woman, I'm a homeowner, this is all hypothetical. A man wouldn't want to be with such of a strong, empowered woman like me anyway. They'd be intimidated. And that's you rationalizing the decision that you made, right? So you cut off the opportunity of ever meeting anyone because you already decided that, because underneath it all, the truth is that you're afraid that you would never meet someone in the future. So you're taking dominion now by just completely Xing that out, right? The other side of this would be more of a covert way of a self-fulfilling prophecy, like I said, with the whole college letter type of thing. So you really didn't get a rejection, but you created one. Right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like letting fear take control. So what this would be saying to me, Libra, that this is really about you guys gaining dominion over your experience. It's almost, and this is like a tall order. It's hella heavy. This would be saying to me that a consistent pattern that you guys have experienced up to this point doesn't have much to do with the people, situations, or circumstance. it's almost like an insidious form of self-sabotage. You know what I mean? One seems very, overt and, powerful, and I'm taking dominion over my life by cutting off, a potential for one future, and the other way is more covert and more insidious. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where you miss an opportunity out of fear by allowing your past to determine what's possible in the future, which is the message that's pretty much come out for all of the signs up to this point, right? But with this Nine of Swords in the reverse, this is all saying that it's all a mental energy, like it's all in your head. Not saying that you're delusional or anything, but meaning it's in your head because these are fears and anxieties that exist in your mind, and it's trying to gain control over it. What this would really be saying to me is relinquishing control. Now, with the Seven of Coins being here, right? We can see this two ways. I feel in one sense or another, your challenge is to reevaluate your experience. Those of my Wokebook people from 2020, you guys know that you did a timeline in there. That's why that's so important. It's going to be no different this year. But it's really taking time to really look back. And those two examples that I gave, being honest with yourself to see in what ways you could possibly be doing that or have done that in the past. It's not to feel bad about yourself or anything along those lines. That's not the premise of it, but it's more or less like reevaluating why one, because I feel like a spirit of just waiting, regardless of what it is you guys are waiting for. I feel that you all are waiting for something, and it reminds me, and I feel like I said this to you guys before, and I say this to, a lot of people I work with. I say it in a lot of readings, but a lot of times in life, we have this mistake of wanting life to prove us wrong. Like we've made our mind up about something. And I hear that sometimes with relationships. It's like, I believe that all men or all women are, horrible cretins of human beings. However, I'm waiting for that one person to prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? And life doesn't work like that. It's like everything that we're experiencing is a mirror reflection of our truth within us, regardless of what it is that we're projecting into this realm. So what you're experiencing has to be a reflection of ourselves. That's hard for a lot of people to accept because it's looking at it from a superficial mindset. It's like, oh, so I keep dating narcissists, so does that mean that I'm a narcissist on the inside? No, that's not that at all. It's a very superficial way of looking at it. You know what I'm saying? It requires more depth, more reflection. It's not just, face value. You know what I mean? But anywho, I say all of that to say that it's wanting life to prove you wrong, and life can only prove all of us right. It's like if you come to a place where you've lost hope, which is something no one else can give you back, I think it's a quote by Benjamin Franklin that says, some people die at 25 and aren't buried until 85. And what that means is losing hope. It's like when you lose hope, it's like that's not something that a pastor, preacher, teacher, rabbi, psychic, tarot reader, therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, mama, daddy, sister, brother, cousin, auntie, grandma, no one can give you that back. When you relinquish your hope, it's like relinquishing your will to live. It's relinquishing a future. It's opting out. You know what I mean? And that's a really dark place to be in. And the only person who can resurrect that hope is the individual, right? So it's not necessarily saying that all of my Libra people are in a dark place of completely losing hope, but I feel it's almost as if you're headed there. And it's severing yourself from a possibility of what your future could be based on what your past experiences are. And it's not taking the time to review and qualify your past experience. It's almost like things that you've gone through, you just accept it for face value. And you're like, they're an asshole, they're a jerk, hated that job, don't like that, moving on. You know what I mean? And not really seeing what the connection is between all of these things, And I feel that's what the challenge really is this month. It's you're waiting to receive either proof or someone to prove you wrong or life to prove you wrong. It can only prove you right. If you made your decision that is never going to happen, then you will see the manifestation of it's never going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because life just doesn't work like that. Life isn't like, oh gosh, poor whoever, you know what I'm saying? It's like, let me canoodle them and show them, like, life isn't what you think, and that's relinquishing your power in another way. But it's really like taking the time to really reflect on what it is that you've been through up to this point and what you've experienced and what you've decided in your mind for that to mean. Right. And I mean, for some people who want to just forsake stuff, I mean, that's totally cool. It's not saying that you shouldn't do that, but I mean, it puts you out of alignment with yourself. Going back to what I've been saying this whole month about manifestation, it's like you have to be on one accord with yourself. It's like you have an end goal, your mind, your emotions, your will, and your physical body need to all be going in the same direction. But if you're incongruent with yourself, meaning your mental space is looking in the past, all the stuff that you've been through, you've decided in your mind this isn't going to happen, you shut off your heart space because you're like, why be emotionally open? You know what I'm saying? Because people ain't this, or whatever the case may be specifically. However, I'm taking my intention and my will, I'm directing it towards my future, and I'm doing the actions to build something. But the way that you're undermining yourself is because your belief system and your emotions have already, dug their heels in the ground and said that this is not possible. So the reason why you're doing all of the work and you're not seeing the fruits of your labor or the fruits of what it is that you're working towards or trying to manifest is because your mind and your emotions are in direct contrast to what it is that you're actually trying to do. So the whole purpose of this is to get you on one accord. However, it's going to require self-honesty, because the message in the beginning is saying, man, that it's possible to have it all. You literally can have it all. It's just a question of, are you willing to believe it, if that makes sense. Now, your underlying energy is the Four of Swords in the reverse. That's my little burnout card, isolating yourself. And then we have the Sun card. So the thing is, again, direct contrast here. It's desiring full on emotional happiness, wishes come true, things of the sort. That's what you're headed in the direction of having your heart's desires met and things of the sort, having, emotional and material, so spiritual, like the whole gusto is what the Sun card is. It's inner and outward happiness, if you will, right? Being in alignment with yourself. These are all things that my Librans are desiring. However, it's not being willing to take that risk that's required in order to do so. And granted, going back to this Nine of Wands, Libra, I totally get it. It makes me think of a piece I wrote when I used to blog years ago. And I think I have scrubbed all of that off of the internet. But I wrote a piece called When It Hurts to Hope, right? And that's when you've been disappointed so much in your life. And every time you've believed the best in people and situations and circumstances, you've just been continuously disappointed to a point that you're just tired. And even the concept of just hoping that there's even an inkling of a possibility for things to get better hurts. You know what I mean? And that is probably the greatest oxymoron of hope being a painful thing. But people who've been through a lot of traumatic things in their life understand that. You know what I mean? But I have to say, and this is me just being straight and honest with you, life will not prove you wrong. Even myself having felt that way once upon a time, I realized that I myself still had to pick myself up from the bootstraps and try to cultivate hope again and believe, against all rationale, that what I was hoping for was possible. You know what I mean? Because I knew that there was only two options. It's like, either I try to make this thing work and try to find some type of positivity in this, or I just quit. You know what I mean? And not saying that you guys are in that space just yet, but continuing forward this way can bring you to a place where you end up getting spoiled and marred and embittered by life. And I don't wish that upon anyone, because it's really, really hard to come back from that. You know what I mean? So you guys don't want to head in that direction, but your inner world and your outer world, or like your masculine energy and your feminine energy, are in direct opposition with each other. You know, you're hoping for this happiness, this fulfillment, but you've already made up in your mind that it's a done deal. You know what I mean? And the only link between the two is, like I said, life proving you wrong. And it's not. It's just going to continue to prove you right. But it's needing to see how all of these things are tying into each other. And that requires a lot of self-honesty. You know what I mean? Going forward, you all have the Three of Cups. So joy, celebration, bringing people into your life, things of the sort. I would even say it's almost like a foretelling of your inner marriage, if you will. So this is a positive thing. What this says to me with the Three of Cups being here, I don't know why I was about to say Leo, maybe because the Sun card is Leo energy. I don't know. I was legit about to say Leo, but anywho, but what this is saying to me, Libra, is that despite what it is you guys have been through, whatever it is that you're hoping for moving forward, if you restore your hope by believing what this message said in the very beginning, which is you can have it all, right? There's no need to fear, because and I don't know why these readings are so interesting this month. This is making me think about Pascal's wager. That is so strange. Those of you who are familiar with it, y'all know what I'm talking about, but it's literally making me think of Pascal's wager. It's pretty much, and this is just a quick synopsis just to make my point. With Pascal's wager, I was introduced to it via conversations I've had with atheists throughout the course of my life. And I never really understood why atheists used it as an argument, unless I just completely misunderstood what it was about. But it's the quick synopsis of it is Pascal is a guy who I think he was agnostic or atheist or something along those lines, but he was talking about belief in people's belief in God and things of the sort. And he was saying that if you were to compare apples to apples and think about, you know, people who believe in religions and suppress themselves and follow all of this stuff, right? When there isn't, like, the thought is, if there isn't a God, right? And there isn't an afterlife, it's like, why would a person suppress themselves for something that isn't real? On the other side, you think of a person who doesn't believe in an afterlife or a God or anything like that, and they have more control over their lives because they're able to live and do what it is that they want and don't have to worry about, you know, eternal damnation or what have you. But what Pascal's point was, is if you compare apples to apples, he felt a person was better off believing than not believing, because he said at the point of death, in the event that there was actually a God or an afterlife, right? The person who was a believer would be better off because they had solutions for their problems in life. They, you know, had lived moral, upright lives and had good, you know, connections and experiences. And then, you know, they pass away and wake up and it's like, oh, wow, there is a heaven. Cool. Right. As opposed to a person who didn't believe, because it's kind of wandering through life directionless, not really understanding why things happen and feeling as if it's a series of unfortunate events. And if you end up dying and there actually is a God, then it's like, oh, holy crap, I screwed up type of deal. So comparing the two, he was saying it's better in the long term to believe than to not. Now, I say all of that to say, thinking about that with the star in the reverse in contrast to this sun, it's like, I feel for you guys, if we were to wager out your life, and this is all a hypothetical, it would be better for you to believe what it is that you're desiring is possible. Like, you would gain more believing that you can have your proverbial sun card than you would not believing. Because I feel not believing would cement a life marred with disappointment and bitterness, right? But it's like, if you believe, right? That it's possible, you have more of a chance of seeing it happen than not. But I feel that the fear is really of the future. That's really what we're talking about here. It's feeling a sense of comfort in knowing at present, even if it means knowing it's never going to happen. It's getting a false sense of security from that. But this month is really challenging you guys, despite rationale, you know, to believe moving forward. And I feel your little insurance policy is in the fact of, with these little Kipper cards, it's saying like you can have it all. The biggest challenge is you just believing that that's possible or that that's true, if that's making sense. So I hope that this makes sense, Libra. I don't even know how long this dead is. My God, this dead is long. All these readings been long. But anyway, I'm going over to Vimeo, my website. Patreon and YouTube members do you guys extended. And if you don't know, you guys extended is I'm finishing out these cards. And we're also doing an overview of 2021. I'm using Oracle so that it doesn't creep anyone out. And I'm suggesting everyone to write them down because it's just kind of a marker point you can go back and reference throughout the course of the year. So if you are about that life, my Libran friend, follow me on over there. But if not, I still love your face, the friend. And I will see you guys sooner than later. I love your face, Libra. Hope, man. Keep hope alive.